Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week I'm going to do the second Mega Man game this month, and it'll be Mega Man X4. So I definitely remember being very cold, very meh to Mega Man 4. But Mega Man X4 is an interesting case because there's a lot to like on it, and then it's brought down by one pretty glaring weakness, which I think everybody knows. Let me just get that one out of the way, because I want to talk about the good stuff. I want to be in a good mood. So, this was the first game, I believe, with voice acting for the Mega Man franchise. Either this or Mega Man 8. And both of them suck at it. But, yeah, going back and going through this stuff again, yeah, it's as bad as anyone would remember. It's really sad. It is awful. Almost nobody has a good voice for it. Some voices don't even fit. Like Sigma is way too high and kind of voice, as opposed to being, kind of like that, but a lot more menacing. Mega Man sounds like a fucking kid, which I suppose is fine, but even Zero, who's usually more calm and collected and a lot more, has a higher pitch. Like, any actor they chose sounds off. And this was in the era where there was no quality control. So, yeah, it was bad. And it's not just the meme. It's not the, what are you waiting for? It wasn't that meme. That scene is very bad, yes. Every scene is bad. And a lot of it has to do with the acting. A lot of it has to do with there's no direction. What's even worse, I think, is the fact that the audio cues are terrible. Like, you can't even... there's always like a delay as they're speaking before they actually speak the line. And I think the audio balance is terrible because you can barely hear them speak when they speak, especially if there's some like background noise or background music getting involved. So that's also true when you get into battles and you're supposed to hear these like noises that the characters can make, or they talk. Like if you're facing off against the Colonel or the General or Sigma and you can barely hear them over the backing track. Like, they did not do this game any favors. Having said that, the rest of the game is fine. And a lot of people love this game, and I can see why. I mean, it's not a smash across the board, but, I mean, even compared to Mega Man X3, which was a definite disappointment, the jump in class from the SNES to the PlayStation is almost absurd. The way this game looks, I would say the music on occasion is better, but just the audio of all the sound effects, the visual splendor on display, I would say the way everything looks, like there's a weight. There's a weightiness to the setting. All of the ground, all of the stairs, all of the whatever, all the ladders, all the things that you stand on just look big. It's almost kind of like Donkey Kong Country. I'm using that as an example because I'm playing them for YouTube right now. Is just the weightiness of everything looking big. And it helps because it differentiates the first three Mega Man X games to this one, the PlayStation, alongside some of the other things. I would say the best example would be Split Mushroom Stage with the revolving staircase. You probably couldn't have done that sort of effect in the SNES. but they try it. Does it lead to anything special? Not really. I don't think they utilize the effect more so than it's just kind of a scrolling effect. But when you first see it, you're kind of in a marvel of, well, this is not something they could have done in the SNES because everything was all staticky and, straightforward. And, the most you'd get would be a wireframe cutout on a screen, And the bosses obviously look a little bit bigger. Frost Walrus especially looks way bigger. So everything looks and feels better. It's just a shame that same care and detail wasn't put into the cutscenes, because there are still a few cutscenes, and the story is still on a Mega Man side. The issue is that they're trying to do more. I think that's where the disappointment comes from, is that it feels like a later Castlevania game where they're trying to add a story to a game where you don't really need a story. And I think that's something that the Mega Man games try to do more of as it goes on, and it doesn't really catch on. The idea is that this force of, like, a military organization of robots called the Replifors try to force this coup and try to gain independence on the moon, or independence in space, or something like that. And lo and behold, somebody is kind of forcing them across the scene, behind the scenes, and guess who it is? It's Sigma. Oh no, because it's always Wily or Sigma until it's not. But God, who could have figured that one? Sigma is back. But the main crux of the issue here is that Mega Man and Zero have to fight off against this Repliforce, these 8 robots and their colonel and their general at the end. But what's added the intrigue, and what is a bit disappointing, is they try to add, especially for Zero's campaign, is they try to add this whole, you don't want to fight this colonel dude because you're saving their sister, and the colonel's after her, to save her life, Iris, and Zero's caught in the middle of it. So there's a little bit of intrigue there, so I give them some credit. Mega Man doesn't get X doesn't get the fun part. He basically just gets, I'm a dude spy, I'm a dumb spy guy. I'm double. I look like a fucking fat football player. Not really. I'm actually a spy for Sigma. Didn't work so well. A lot of the other bosses don't really matter much. They're like, oh my god, I'm in for a challenge, or oh, who are you to step into my domain? Or, they don't do much. They always do the, I'm not going to tell you who I'm fighting for, and all that junk, until you get to, like, Magma Dragoon, and he's like, well, I just wanted to fight you, and it's all that great. So, it is there's not a lot of story here. So, baby steps. Baby steps. And recall that Mega Man X is trying to be the more story-heavy franchise of the two. So it's good in a sense that they're trying, but it's also disappointing in a sense that they're trying, because they're not trying very well. So it's the flimsiest of excuses to get you to jump and shoot things, or to slash things. It's fair. So, not everything's great, but the gameplay itself is fun, and that's what counts. And as stated, the visual look when the game actually is in action is quite good. The way that these games kind of get, this is the first time where, like, they're cut into, like, halves of stages. So you get, like, the first bit of a stage, and then you get the second half, and they're properly halved. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Usually they would just give you the checkpoint, and it would all be one continuous stage. I don't know if I like that idea of having it in stages. I'm guessing it was to cut down on load times for the PlayStation or something like that. I don't know, but it's an idea, if nothing else. As far as music, before I get into, like, the designs of the stages, because I'm waiting for that. The music, let me see if there was any I really, like, liked a lot. I think one of the things I was a bit disappointed by was the heavy focus on techno. It didn't feel very intense. That is a word I tend to use when I describe things a lot, but what I mean by intense is I mean heavy. I'm a metal guy. I like heavy guitars. I like heavy drums. I like heavy bass. This is a techno-y sounding soundtrack. Techno rock, basically. So I wasn't really all that impressed, but it does have some moments. Like Storm Owl's okay. Magma Dragoon is a pretty nice track. Frost Walrus stands out because it's more ambiance and blizzardy, mountainy vibe, because it's more mood music than anything. But Jet Stingray is great. Let it not be said that at least one song in this soundtrack isn't great. And if you want to listen to one of them, it would be Jet Stingray, because that stage is the best. So I might as well talk about that stage first. A lot of stages are jump in, shoot, or jump and slash and shit like that. Jet Stingray is you're riding a bike and you're riding it through a city, then you're riding it through the sea, and it takes like 30 seconds to a minute to beat. You know, it's fast, it's furious. It's basically Overdrive Ostrich on steroids. It's all you need to know about Jet Stingray. It's great. But the music is great. The design of the place is great. Being able to do a stage like that is fun because it doesn't overstay its welcome. The cool part also is that Jet Stingray also tries to hit you halfway through the stage, so you get to see the boss before he actually shows up, which is cool. But if you have the Frost Tower, you can attack him. He gives you like these mini stingrays as his weapon. So he tries to do those as his own attack, because you're underwater while you're in the boss arena. But he'll also try to dive at you. It's not super difficult, and none of the bosses in this game look particularly difficult, to be honest. But you know, the biggest issue with that is if you played Mega Man X3 and felt like Spark Mandrill syndrome was too hot, like too prevalent, you're gonna get that in this game. If you get an enemy's weakness, they're pretty much fucking done for. So I did my best to kind of gauge like what attacks they did have from the fact that they get stun locked. So at least with Stingray, I was able to see his thing, so that's fair. But when you get the Ground Hunter, you do the thing. Let's go back to the list of like the traditional way you start, which was Web Spider. His stage is a jungle stage, but at least it has a waterfall. Like you get this current of water that is running through the stage, and then you get, like a Steam Chameleon, jungle stage, or a cave system. Nothing too crazy. I did like the water effects though, the constant waterfall effects. So it was kind of like Toadman meets Sting Chameleon stage. Web Spider himself, like he likes to do contact damage, or he likes to spit out webs of lightning at you. Nothing too crazy. Like midway through the fight, he'll like stand in the middle of the stage and then just try to hit you while you're trying to jump at him while he's shooting out spiders at you. But you can pretty much dodge well. You can do like a weapon, or you can use X-Buster on him. You get the lightning webs as a thing, which is fun. Split Mushroom is the winding staircase stage. Everything else about it's fine, but nobody's really going to remember that. They're going to remember the spiral staircase fighting segments, because the lab itself is like a botanical garden lab thing, botany lab thing, and you're kind of jumping up, or you're going through a vertical elevator to the boss stage. The reason he's called Split Mushroom is he uses copies. He has them just jumping all over the stage and hitting things, but if you hit him with the lightning web, he gets kind of stuck in place and make that noise. So you get to use the copies too. Mega Man doesn't get to do the fun, cool shit with it, but you can have a copy kind of running forward in front of you or behind you, kind of like, and do damage as kind of like a battering ram sort of thing. Cyber Peacock is a stage about just a timed stage. There's nothing like fancy about it. It trying to do like the futuristic, cyberspace, whatever look. But the stages itself kind of revolve around getting through a segment fast and, going to the next bit. It wasn't really all that impressive. Peacock himself really doesn't get a lot to do, because if you use Soul Body on him, he gets stuck too damn fast. He does jump into the middle of the room and shoot at his feathers in all directions. I do remember seeing that one. Storm Owl's another one who's just like, I want to see him do moves so he can actually hit me. Because again, Spark Mandrill Syndrome sucks. If you're anyone who likes challenge, I wouldn't really care, right? But when it comes to trying to describe these bosses and if they're difficult or not, it's really no. So it's like, what does Storm Owl do? He dives and he uses cyclones. But if you can shoot him with a laser, then he just jumps off the screen and he leaves. So his stage is just a bunch of floating platforms in space. So it's a space fortress. It's neat. Again, it's not my favorite. Magma Dragoon. It's a volcano stage. You've seen them before. His whole thing is he's actually quite fun as a fighter because he uses Hadouken and Shoryuken and other kicks and shit. But he shoots out fire instead of lightning balls and shit like that. So he actually gets to hit you even amidst other things. So I was able to like engage in what he was doing. So I was like, yay! X, if you break a certain part of the stage, you can actually fight him in right armor too. I don't think Zero can do that. While I'm here, I could talk about X and Zero specifically. X does what X does. He gains abilities, and you just gain abilities. Some of them do traditional shots forward and back. Some of them do attacks at up front and above and below. The Cyclone and the Fire skills that you get from Storm Owl and Magma Dragoon are kind of the best in terms of verticality. Zero is a lot of like fighting game mechanics, but he also has his own special attacks if you get certain ones, because some of them will be tied to the directional pad and then inputting that pad. Some of them will be just equipping the attack and going. Same idea with that is he will have certain attacks that will go up or to the side and would be better suited for certain enemies in certain situations or certain bosses, because some of the bosses are airborne. But Zero's traditional attack is just jump and slash in kind of an arc kind of thing. After a while, you get to attack the Colonel, but he's pretty basic and pretty easy. If anybody remembers, oh god, which one was, I want to say it was Agile? Yeah, what was the one from X2, the Maverick Hunter, that just did the large swipes of energy from the sword? That dude. It's basically that one, but faster, but smaller arcs. That's all the Colonel tends to do. It's not really that impressive. If you're playing as Axe, he'll do the thing where he's just there to fight you, and Axe will keep saying, "You're a Maverick!" And no, I'm not. I'm not a Maverick, but you're a Maverick! Axe kind of gets shit on, doesn't he? Like, Axe doesn't really have much motivation other than, I'm gonna kill Mavericks. At least with Zero, like, he saves Iris, and the Colonel is like, I just want you to protect her, but I'm not gonna stop my coup. But at least Zero is at least somewhat torn up about it, even if it doesn't really go anywhere. So there's at least some sort of like rivalry there, while they're fighting. And then the second half of it comes later. The Frost Walrus stage is neat. It's an ice cave and an ice base. You get these nice ice effects. It's where I really start seeing the heaviness of the setting, or like the oppressiveness of it, because the ice effects are good. The ice cubes in the base are cool and big. Like, everything just feels big and bigger than the other games in the series have to this point. And where I hear the music change, because to that point most of the music has just been fairly uneventful. So hearing something that was very subdued and atmospheric was fun. Frost Walrus himself is fairly easy and sad, whether you have his weakness or not, because his weakness is Rising Fire. The reason I say this is that, yeah, he uses Ice Breath and stuff, or he'll whatever, but he'll do the thing where it's like Blizzard Buffalo, where he'll slide across the ground. Blizzard Buffalo slides pretty damn fast, so you have to dodge him. But Walrus is slow. He is very slow, and every time he does it, he goes as he's sliding across the ground, so it's like an extra comical. It's like he's very slow, so he's easy to time the jumps, and then he's going like it's goofy. The only thing he's got going for him is he's big, because he's kind of dumb. Let's see. Jet Stingray, I did talk about already. The other stage that I haven't gotten to was Slash Beast. Nothing too crazy about this one. It was military base, military bunker. He's just kind of like Wolverine or Neon Tiger and shit like that, where he just attacks from slashes. He has a drill attack, kind of like Wheel Gator. Like sometimes Wheel Gator never use it, in X2, but he'll spin himself up in a big flurry and then rush across the screen. That's kind of what Slash Beast does. If he's not trying to slash you, he'll use his drills. Oh, excuse me. I'm recording this right as I wake up. Sorry. But yeah, you use Ground Hunter on him and he just gets stun locked. Sigma Stage 1. This is the spaceport. The thing with this one is this is where you will face the Colonel. Again, a second time. He doesn't really do anything new. But this is also where you'll fight Double or Iris. And both of them are different in different ways. Double, like, he'll use stuff like just jumping across the screen and trying to attack you and things. But if you use the Cyclone and the X-Buster, he's just kind of there. Like, he makes this out to be some amazing thing because he gets a cutscene to himself where, like, he turns from this, like, gawked at fat guy to this crazy psychopathic killer, and it's like, oh my god, he's so crazy, and it's like X just kicks the shit out of him in seconds. And then, Double tells you, he doesn't flat out tell you Sigma is the one bankrolling him, but he essentially does. Iris gets to jump in her own ride armor and try to shoot you with these like different, not like webs, but these little like energy ball things around the screen. And then, of course, the iconic scene, like, you killed my brother, and you didn't stop. You didn't stop us. You didn't stand down. And then she just dies, and then Zero does the "what am I fighting for?" And yeah, it's terrible. It's that. It would have been a lot more effective if Iris or the Colonel had a little bit more to go on. Really, the only thing that happens with them is like Iris stops them from fighting once, but then they don't stop again. So it's just kind of like, you're not playing a Mega Man game for story, I suppose. But yeah, you get through Iris, you get through that stuff, you do the boss rushes, and guess what's happening? You're facing Sigma, because of course you are. Sigma has... I'm trying to describe this. In the first one, he's doing a death impression. So he doesn't like show himself until like the very end of this, like the first part of the stage. And I will say this much, like he's in this boiler room, but it basically just looks like the Motorhead logo. If you've ever seen any of their covers, it's the dog face with the spikes on the side. That's basically what it looks like. I couldn't even focus on Sigma because I was just looking at the fucking background the whole time. But he's attacking with scythes and stuff, but if you use fire on him, he just turns into his normal self, or he'll just attack with swords. His attack pattern is to like put up a shield and then throw a sword kind of in a spinning arc around him to attack you. So he's keeping you at bay so you don't hit him, but you can shoot him with webs and shit and get rid of him. The third stage is where it gets weird because he like sits in this corner in this like gun pointed like at an angle, and he'll teleport sometimes, and then what you're fighting are these heads, these like multicolored heads that are shooting stuff, or they're acting as platforms so you can attack Sigma directly, and you know he'll be shooting out junk at you. It's not the craziest Sigma fight I've ever seen, because you know some of it's annoying because those moving heads are there. I think of those, it's the hardest one is the second stage. The first stage is mainly just avoiding when he does the scythe attack because it's a long arc, but he telegraphs it pretty well, so you just gotta kind of duck underneath it. But it's really just dealing with the multiple heads and then finding a space to shoot at them, which is the difficult part. But you get this done, and you know Mega Man X4 ends, and I'm not disappointed in X4. Like I'm disappointed in the games that are gonna come after. So they get worse. They just do, right? We're not at the point where Mega Man X is just complete shit, but it's getting there, and I'm dreading that. But for now, I enjoy Mega Man X4 for what it is. You know, audio-visual stuff for the cutscenes aside, audio-visual stuff for the voice acting and the story, right? But the gameplay stuff is pretty damn impressive. The jump in class from, you know, the SNES era, even for the stuff they were doing in Mega Man X3 and X2, you're seeing that evolution to X4, and it's great. I don't think it sticks the landing in other games quite like it does this first iteration in the PlayStation or other platforms. And I you know, next year when I get to X5, or if I try something else, you know, I'll probably say as much. But would I recommend that Mega Man X4? Absolutely. If you can get past the stupid, there is a lot to offer in the game. It's fun to play Zero without having to put in some code or have him be this one life problem. He gets his own freaking story, for better or for worse. But at least playing as him is a different kind of experience, and that's what you want. Like, you get him in the third game, but you get him as the I need to be bailed out. But if he dies, he dies. In this, it's great. From here on out, he's just there as a secondary character, a secondary story character. He pretty much gets a better story. Not much of one, but it's more fun, I think, to play as Zero. It's a lot faster to play as Zero. It's not that X is terrible, it's just that Zero's always been better. You know? He just is. You know, playing with a sword in a shooty game is fun. But that'll do for Mega Man X4. And let's see what my schedule is for videos. Castlevania seasons 1 through 4. Ooh boy, talking about those will be fun. Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Violet Evergarden. And Bravely Second. And then in between all of those will be the spring and summer anime rundowns, because I'm continuing to keep up with the anime season. And there's a lot of anime that I'm talking about. So I'll save those for next week. But that'll do for today. And I gotta get my breakfast. So I'll see you guys next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.